What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to discuss more on the first pillar of engaging in immersive story. We're going to discuss the world map, points of interests, and the climate. The world of Verra features an in-game viewable world map. This map is not randomly generated, and it begins covered in a fog of war, meaning it will be covered and you will have to discover it over time. Players will not be able to see the world until they have explored it or gathered information about it. The world is also full of imperfect information, which will require the player to act on it for verification. Information about the world will be presented directly to players through the world map UI as it is gathered. You will be able to see node tax rates will be visible on the world map by hovering over that particular node. The map UI will potentially incorporate player-created location marks that are visible by other party members. Previously detailed information about the world was only available through a library of unique node building. Not every server will share the same map, as player decisions will vary between servers. The map will have geographical choke points caused by non-traversable obstacles, such as mountains, creating a giant kind of 300 type battle situation. Verra. It's the name of the world of Ashes of Creation. It exists in the material plane. There are constellations and multiple moons in the night sky of Verra. Players start in Verra a few short months after the first expeditionaries were sent through the Divine Gateways when they opened from Sanctus. I will get more into the lore and religions and everything of that nature in a separate video. That's going to be a very long video. Verran continents include locations such as Shujima, Vandagar, the Doomsakil Mountains, the Kayla Riverlands, the Junedark, the Sandsquall Desert, the Trakath Bar, and Elarium, Frostgate Fells, Pelagoria. The four oceans are the Fortunic Ocean, the Umbral Sea, the Tradewind Sea, and the Averic Ocean. In terms of gameplay development, Intrepid Studios is focused on developing the Western continent first. In terms of the shape of Verra, the world of Verra is not flat, but it cannot be circumnavigated. So essentially meaning you can't go from the left side of the map all the way to the right side of the map. Biomes. There are approximately 18 biomes and environments in Ashes of Creation. Some of those include the Badlands, corrupted areas, the desert, the floodplains, the forest, the jungle, riverlands, snowy mountains, tabletop mountains, tropics, tundra, underrealm, and a volcano area. The world size is expected to be at 1,200 square kilometers in size at launch, including the land being about 480 kilometers and the water being about 750, but excluding the size of the underworld as well. This is increased from the previously stated size of 480 kilometers, including both the land and water, but excluding the additional 100 kilometers of the underworld. The underworld did not increase in size too much. The reason given for expanding the map size was better to accommodate for naval content and to reduce the overall content density in the world. The shape of the continents is also changed, and 2 new large islands have been introduced. It is estimated that a travel time from one end of a metropolis node to the other end would take about 3 minutes in running, and then if you were to go from the center of a node to its direct neighbor, they would say it would probably take around 5 minutes running and about 3 minutes mounted. From the northernmost part of a continent to all the way to the southernmost part of a continent, they expect running it would take around 70 minutes, or on a mount it would take about 50 minutes. So the world is going to be very big, very vast, and loads of stuff to do. Just historically, the map has increased in size all the way from Alpha 0 now coming to Alpha 2. It's going to be crazy. Exploration, the players will be rewarded for exploring. It's going to be a huge part of the game, and they're going to reward players for doing so. Utility skills exist that can help players discover hidden paths and entrances and may lead to discovering hidden quests. Certain relics can only be discovered through exploration, and constellations may only be seen at certain times at specific locations. Travel times are important in Verra, but it will be easy to get lost or distracted by threats and opportunities. Threats can come in the form of monsters, events, open world PvP, and opportunities could include, things like gathering, transporting, storing, and trading, points of interests, achievements, and treasures. So they want traveling to be They want it to feel like when you're moving from one place to another, you have so many things that you're interested in that you don't even realize how long it takes. And that's the key to making a great game, is that when you're traveling from one point to another, you actually forget why you're traveling from one point to another because you've done so much in between. Treasure hunting. It's not exactly cartography, but it does involve maps that helps to pinpoint the location of hidden treasures throughout the world. Treasure maps will enable players to reap economic gains from exploring. The more treasure a player finds, the better the maps that they can create. Hints are given through rumor mills, interactions with different NPCs, and getting access to potential dig sites. Treasure hunting will be a way of life rather than a profession. Treasures may also be obtained through fishing and exploring naval content. I'll discuss a little bit about nodes, but I will go more in depth into these in a separate video. There will be 85 regular node locations at launch with 15 additional castle nodes, 5 castles and 3 castle nodes each, for a total of 100 nodes. Previously, the developers estimated that 103 regular node locations with 15 additional. This decrease in node count does not affect the amount of available player housing or the estimated server capacity. There were 9 node locations in Alpha 1, so you can see just how crazy and how much more world building they need to complete. And the node locations are still subject to change prior to the beta. Some of them include Drythorn, Edgepoint, Eilon, Illwind, Miraleth, Mistmire, Moonhollow, Naala, Trader's Rock, and Winstead. There will be node maps as well, and players will have access to a node map UI that will show the nodes, buildings, plots, locations. Now let's talk about economic regions. Economic regions are areas defined by geographical points of interest. Castle regions are larger and encompass multiple economic regions. Nodes are the glue that hold the castle and economic regions together in potential synergy or chaos. A node's zone of influence are fluid and change their area based on the progression of the node and its neighbors. Castle regions, economic regions, and the zones of influences can overlap. Guild castles influence a castle region around them. Castle region is 1/5 of the game world. So basically what we're meaning is that the zone of influence, the economic region, and the castle region, all of these things are based on the zones, the nodes, the cities, and they can change and form depending on how you interact with each one of those things. Roads in Verra are both pre-generated and player influenced. The largest roads are referred to as arteries. These are the remnants of what was once an ancient highway system in Verra. As nodes advance, smaller roads referred to as veins connect to the arteries to the nodes. Depending on the stage of the node advancement, capillary roads will stem off the node and connect to the points of interest. Roads or pathways are not worn into the landscape by repeated traffic over the same area. The quality, safety, and maximum transportation speed of roads is influenced by node building upgrades, policies, relics, and the level of nearby nodes. Different seasons and events may affect the access to various roads. Pathways that open during summer may be closed during winter. Seasonal effects may cause obstacles or blockages to transit of goods via a caravan. Caravan events can cause roadways to be blocked off or hostile mobs to spawn to attack the caravan. Obstacles may present barriers on roads that players must remove or bypass to allow transit of goods. Water turning to ice in winter, enabling players to walk over the water but blocking access to what is underneath. Ice will make roads bumpy and slippery. Underrealm routes will open or close dynamically based on node states. The location of the Underrealm entrances throughout the world is focused around natural geographic choke points that exist above ground. This provides alternative subterranean routes that can be used by caravans, raids, or other player activities. Not all entrances to the Underrealm will be open at the same time. This can shift dynamically based on the node states and can cause different routes to open up, which may be more or less advantageous than other routes. Freeholds may not be placed in close proximity to roads. Let's talk about points of interests. Points of interest such as dungeons, bosses, corrupted areas spawns as node develops. This content adapts to the node progression of the zone it is in. Additional buildings will spawn, additional mobs will spawn, there will be different leaders and storylines, populations might change, the content difficulty will change as the world changes, and it might be completely different altogether. There will be additional quest lines. Dungeons will be unlocked when certain nodes advances. Multiple nearby nodes may collectively influence larger points of interest. Larger dungeons will gain higher level content as the nodes advance. So essentially, the world just keeps changing. It keeps growing and growing, and that is what makes this game so interesting, is its node system, because you could feel like you're never logging into the same world. There'll also be plenty of dungeon locations, corrupted areas, and landmarks. Landmarks are scattered throughout the world, allowing players to judge their position on the map. So there will be notable landmarks such as Aelia, Gemspring, the Hall of Judication, the Highwayman Hills, the remains of the Oakbane Keep, the ruins of Talanos, and the wreckage of Carfin. People have questions about procedural generation. Ashes of Creation will predominantly have curated content, but procedural mechanics will be leveraged in places where they don't appear to be procedural. Verra's map will not be procedurally generated, but starting resource points may be different on each server. Node locations and types are predefined on the same on each server, but they will develop differently on each and drive different narratives and storylines. The node layout and style is determined by several factors, such as the biome, location, and node type, and roads are both pre-generated and player influenced. There will also be a mini-map in the top right, so you'll be able to use that as a good resource. There'll be battle maps, bounty hunter maps, all kinds of stuff. Also, there will be 4 different starting areas, and there will be a divine gateway pretty close to each starting area, and the player can choose whichever divine gateway that they would like to start at. You're not locked into a certain starting zone, you can pick which one. There are zones of influence, which we will discuss again in another video. There will be coastal nodes as well, along the coasts and on the islands. Now, let's dive into the climate, which you have seen here in the background gameplay. The weather effects in this game are insane. Some environments and biomes have fixed climates, and others are variable. Certain events may lead to a change of climate. There will be dynamic weather that varies in intensity, depending on where you're located. Certain abilities and professions may be enhanced or hindered during certain climates, so seasonal weather effects might affect your farming. Weather conditions will also affect the gatherables, the vehicles, the mounts, ships, resistances, targetings, and boss mechanics. So the weather in this game is extremely important. It'll really change the entire effect that you play the game. The seasons will affect based on their location to the world. A majority of environments will either experience either 2 or 4 seasons, excluding the corrupted areas, which is considered a season itself. Some biomes will have seasons that are less or more temperate, for example, the northern or southern, more tropical regions. Other biomes might have fixed climates as well. Different seasons may affect access to various roads. Each season is approximately 1 to 2 weeks in real life long, and they're going to test and find out which is good cycle during Alpha 2. Environmental seasons will not be confused with PvP seasons, those which will last for 6 months. So is a day and night cycle in Ashes of Creation, and they occur over the course of a few hours. They equate that it might be about 15 minutes in real life would occur for 1 hour in-game. This is again subject to testing, and they will be testing it during Alpha 2. The developers have requested feedback on the intensity of the illumination and the darkness that will be present in Alpha 2. Some resources may only be gatherable at specific times during day or night. Also, NPCs and mobs may have varying behaviors based on the time of day as well. Darkness is considered an environmental obstacle and is being considered as part of game mechanics. Winds will also influence the speed and direction that ships travel on the open sea. Players will need to take wind direction and strength into consideration when navigating on open waters. Alright, that's everything, guys, about the world maps, points of interest, and climate. It's something I'm extremely excited about, and I'm looking forward to getting in and playing the game. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.